This is Distance from Center. We have guest host Freddie Winter filling in one more time. Trent will be back with us next show. Freddie, I know you wish you'd been at Moomba, but we kind of covered that that didn't work out for you. Super enjoyed having you at my house last couple of days. I know you're now back in your home pad there in Orlando. Let's jump right in. Tell us your take on the women's slalom final at Mumba Masters.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say not too many surprises. It's Whitney's 500th consecutive Mumba Masters title. Manon second. That's kind of been the 1-2 for the last 5 years. Manon will be getting frustrated that she hasn't quite gotten Whitney, but I've got every confidence that she will at some point. Whitney, having not had her best year last year, she would certainly admit that. Came back strong and looked really good. I'd just like to highlight, as maybe a more interesting end, Shani Oliver in third did really well. Not a big sort of household ladies slalom name, but she's a good friend of mine. She's been working really hard, and she will be so pumped. She kind of snuck in into she qualified last place in the semis, last place to make the semis, last place to make the final, and then gets in third, and that's amazing. 3:11 on the arrow. Good stuff, and I know that her training wasn't going as well as it possibly could have done beforehand, so when she gets her ski underneath her, she'll be flying this year.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, moving on to the men, starting really with just the finals, probably the biggest or the upset of the finals is Will Asher falls around 2-ball at 38 off. I think you'd mentioned in our prelim show that he looked kind of messy on his opening passes and then looked fantastic at 41. What do you think happened here in the finals?
I mean, this was just a complete shock. He came through 32, 35 looking amazing. Even boy 1 at 38, really, really solid. Over to 2, misses the handle. That's all I can say. And, it happens. It happened to Nate at the World Championships 2 years ago. It happened to Whitney last year at the Canadian Open. People do just miss the handle. And it sucks because you kind of just go, that's just the stupidest thing I could possibly do. Everything was set. He looked balanced, all that. And he will be gutted. But he'll, look, it's Will Asher. You're gonna see him run 38 every single time. When you don't, it's incredible. So, I don't mean that in a positive way. I mean, that's something you don't see. So he'll be very upset. But that's water skiing.
Yeah, I agree. So, moving up into 6th, Nick Adams, couple at 39. I'll just say, I thought he looked better. I mean, he's obviously a very accomplished skier, but having watched him ski kind of from a distance over the years, I thought he looks like he's maybe progressed in his skiing a little bit this year. But besides that, 6th place.
Yeah, he looked balanced. He looked balanced. I thought he looked good the whole way through. Honestly, I was impressed with him.
Right, and then Thomas Ryan, the noteworthy thing here is he's got 5th at Mumba Masters, and I'd never heard of him before. So I don't know what his future is in skiing, but people should take note of his name.
I just said Nick looked balanced. This guy, lefty, super balanced onside turn, but what I really liked was his offside turn. There was a couple of rollers here and there, and he was getting that ski through. That's good skiing. We'll see him again, I'm sure, and he will be beyond delighted. I bet he wouldn't have bet you much money to have come in the top 5 at Moomba going into the weekend.
Right, fantastic. And then we get to Sasha, whose last name I can never pronounce correctly, so I don't even try. Not really an amazing score, but on his last pass, did you see that 2-ball where I don't know how he became completely airborne. We saw all of his fin, all of his ski out of the water.
That was
put the ski
boy
down
1.
And got it on 3. That was 2-ball, wasn't it?
No, boy 1. Well, I don't know.
Maybe he did it twice.
Yeah, I saw boy 1. I mean, the whole ski jumped out of the water. It was impressive, and then he can drop an onside turn, so I wasn't that surprised to see him get to 3. But yeah, over the front at 3, and that was it for him.
Yeah. So not nobody's crushed with 4th, but probably not the term that he was looking for.
I mean, interestingly, 4th place, he's probably got enough money that he might be able to buy a beer having not lost money. Do you know what I mean? Like, the 4th place is that's about the break-even point. If you come, I've come 4th and 5th before. 5th, there's a big drop-off, and you're like, well, I've lost money on this trip. 4th, he'll be able to buy a beer tonight, so that's good for him.
Bring us to Joel Howley, who could be one of the nicest guys in the whole sport. Joel ran 3 at 10.7 is 39, right?
No, he ran 1.5 at 41, which is contentious. You know.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was contentious. I mean, he got around 2 and then took a big hit. Who knows? I don't know if he got out the exit gates or not. But in my view, there's this ridiculous rule where you can't go behind the boat and hold on. You know, so they'll give you 1.5 if you take the hit out behind the boat. And I don't know if that's what they were calling, or the fact that he missed the exit gates. But you know, John Travers on commentary was talking about that rule that if you come in with a lot of slack and you're directly behind the boat, even if you're through the exit gates, you will be scored 1.5. I hate that rule. It makes no sense. You know, what are we doing here? Are we water skiing, or are we you know, doing safety rubbish? So I don't know, but I'd feel really bad for him if he got through those exit gates and was given a 1.5 on that ridiculous rule, because otherwise he'd have been in a runoff for the win. And you always want to be in a runoff for the win, right? That's his second third, I think. He got a third in 2000. I'm going to say 2014. No, 14 or 15. I can't remember. But running 39 on the arrow. I mean, and he looked good. He looked really good. That ski's working for him. The thing that was weird, of course, you know, is we always see that on the arrow. It was really, really apparent last year. He came out of buoy 1 in good shape. Onside turn, looked good, looked balanced. Comes into 2, that downcourse current, he kind of got over the front, and that's where he just snuck around 2, and that's where he got the slack from. Interestingly, we'll talk about later, that happened to a lot of the guys.
Right. And then that brings us to Smith and Gasperi. So Gasperi was 4th off the dock, 4th out of 8, so the middle of the pack. And he goes out and runs, was it 2 at 41? Yep. Good. I always mess up my imperial to metric, but 2 at 41, yep. Which, you know, I don't know. At that point, did you think that would hold up?
The only guy I thought was going to beat that was Nate. I thought that when he went out and got 2 at 41, I thought, you know, I think some of the guys can go and get 2, you know, 1s and 2s, but I didn't think, looking at the river, and in a final, I didn't think anyone was going to get further than that, apart from potentially Nate. But, you know, he did great. But it's Thomas de Gasperi. Look, guys, right. He said he's going to come back until he's 50. He's going to run 39 in the final at Moomba. He's going to do it. There is just no question. I don't care. You could put him on a chopstick. He's going to run 39 in the final at Moomba. He's done it every year for the past 4 or 5 years. That's why, you know, he's doing well at Moomba, and it is impressive. He's just a beast when it comes down to it, and he's got a good head on his shoulders for water skiing.
Yeah, fantastic. So then we come to Smith, and with only all he had to do was get a piece of 3 ball. I think watching a lot of us kind of just assumed that it was a done deal.
Well, you might have done.
Okay.
No,
so
I mean,
what's your
look, last year, let me see. I mean, looking at the other years, there's been times when he's had to get to 3. I know when Thomas won 2 years ago, he had to get to 3 and he got 1.5. Last year he actually, I think he got the 3 last year, but you know, it's not a given. Honestly, that, you know, you come around that buoy 1, and you know, Nate has a very good onside turn. That buoy 1 he's always pretty good with, but you come over to 2 and you're pushed down course, and you kind of get that, like, you know, you get that roll forward, and you're suddenly narrow, and you can't turn that 2, and that's exactly what happened. It's you know, he got a pretty solid one. He got over to 2, and he's the guy that can turn an onside turn really well when he needs to. He couldn't get it, and honestly, I wasn't even sure he was going to like get out the exit gates. He did, you know, very professional. He knows what he's doing. He, you know, took up the slack very well, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't surprised to see him get 2. I thought he was going to get between 2 and 3, but I mean, it was 50-50, if not a little bit towards 2, looking at that current.
Right. So they tie, right? It's de Gasperi and Nate, and I think the fact that de Gasperi has been sitting on shore for 4 skiers, which is at least 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And you know, he had to go out cold at 39, which, you know, even if you're de Gasperi, that's a pretty big ask, right?
If you're anyone, look, I'm going to be honest. We were texting during the final. I didn't give him the smallest chance, because I mean, I like Thomas. He's a fantastic skier, but you're going against Nate Smith. I saw Nate. It was the year that Will won, when Will ran 4.5 at 39 off the dock, which was incredible skiing. And Nate ran it like it was nothing, but he missed his gates.
Right.
So, you know, I just thought, and how Nate, you know, obviously also he'd only just skied. He was going to go straight back out. Thomas had no chance in hell. So I was, I was pulling for Thomas. I'm going to be honest. I like Thomas. We get on really well. So I didn't give him much of a chance, but I had my Italian flag hovering around my head somewhere.
All right. So for the folks at home that didn't see it, explain how it played out.
So I guess they flipped a coin or whatever. You never really know how these things work. But they flipped a coin, and Thomas ended up going first, which was, probably that gave him the edge. He can just go out there, see how he goes. Hey, I had a couple of tournaments last year. I had to go out at 39 off the dock on flat lakes with really good boats, good drivers, like everything lined up. And, it's so hard. That pull comes on so early on your gate turn. At Moomba, with the rollers, with the bounce back everywhere, you are not in a good place to get that early pull. You need to make sure your gate's so good. He got a pretty average one, got a little bit deep, over the 2, fell in, and then at that point you're like, oh, okay, Thomas, good try, mate, second, that's solid, go home, you've made some money, have a beer with the boys tonight. He, I think there was no way in hell.
Right.
So then Nate comes out, and you're kind of, the commentators pretty much, they even told Thomas on the dock it was a done deal for Nate. Nate needs to get around 1 and over to 2, S-turn, out the XC gates, 2 at 39. And like I said, we've seen him run 39 off the dock like 2 or 3 years ago, cold. He comes out, and by the way, Nate's got probably the best. I mean, his offside is arguably better than his onside, which is very unusual in pro skiing, and he really has an amazing onside. So you coming into buoy 1, you think, boom, he's going to come across the 2 super easy. Well, it didn't work out. Whatever happened, don't know. He's not a nerves guy. He's got nerves of steel usually. He got overruled by the situation somehow, and just kind of, I don't know, overturned it, dropped the shoulder, went in, and then I don't know if you heard it, but I heard a huge cheer from someone on that. Maybe it was Thomas himself, giving himself a pat on the back. It was pretty exciting, and I mean, I got to say, Thomas, amazing skiing from him, and just shows like he wasn't really near the top most of the way through, but when it counts, that's Thomas de Gasperi. He's going to get there. He's going to be amongst it, and he put himself in the right position and took advantage of Nate's slip up. What more can you do? And put it this way, this is his 3rd Moomba title, right? Thomas has, of the sort of grand slams of water skiing, you could call it, the World Championships,
right,
in the most important in most people's views, then the Masters, and then closely after the Masters, the Mumba Masters. Thomas has 3 Mumba Masters titles, I think 1 US Masters and then 2 World Championship titles. I mean, this guy today, he's just, I mean, we already knew he was a great of water skiing, but he's really, added, he cemented that even more by being a sort of, I call them the Grand Slams, so-called sort of Grand Slam winner. It really impressive. And, on the other hand, Nate, he's going to be pretty upset. He always skis really well. That in his eyes, that's sort of his title, and usually it takes, a screw up from him to not take that. He's always there or thereabouts, but, unfortunate, try again next time.
All right. Well, I think that's our show. You, Mr. Winter, good luck. I know you've reset your focus on U.S. Masters in 8 weeks, and we'll be cheering for you here at Distance from Center, and we'll have you back for additional shows. And folks, Trent and I will be back to our regular shenanigans soon, covering the miscellaneous news in the sport. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Cheers, John.